Welcome to My Stoic Circus, and I'm 72 the Architect, aka Jason B. And today it's gear up, get better results in 2023 and start 2024. We'll get right into it here in just a moment. Hey, good morning, everybody. How y'all doing? It is, what is it, December 29th. It's just around the corner to start a brand new year and the one that we've had. And we're gonna do exactly a review of 2023. We're gonna look at some things that I've uncovered, reviewed, rehearsed, practiced, got better, got worse, all that good stuff. But we're gonna actually go over some books. We're gonna go over some methods exactly about what you can do to get better at who you are and the better of 2023 and 2024. So the first thing you got to understand is what's the vision, right? Did you really, when you started out this year, 2023, did you really start something with a clear vision in mind? That means the objective. Did you work on all those things that you said you were going to do, or did you leave a lot, like on a bookshelf, books to read, never finished, all that stuff? So know the vision. And if you don't know and you really weren't certain, that's okay. So let's scale back a little bit. So as we begin to start, before the new year comes in, start right now today. If you don't know the whole specific picture, start with a broad picture. And I really have to quote a particular writer, speaker, actor, producer, philanthropist. I really like what he said in his book, and I'm going to mention this one. It's called Be Useful: 7 Tools for Life by Arnold Schwarzenegger. And in the first chapter of his book, he mentions, have a clear vision, but once you have a vision, start out wide, zoom in. As you go on, as you move forward, as you do a lot of things in your life, zoom in. So I'm only into probably the third chapter, actually reading it. I've listened to half the book already. But I listen, I read, I write notes, I review my notes. What can I put into practice? So that goes all into the vision. So, the next thing is review the habits, right? Your habits, good or bad, are going to reveal a lot of things about you. And they're going to tell you exactly where to start, stop, and finish. Right. So understanding before you make these big reclamations, before you make any renovations, before you make any resolutions, I want you to start where you're at today. There's a vision of you and there's a thought of you. Understand the vision has to be the destination. So by getting that or getting to that, look at your habits, right? Your habits, most of the time, they're going to reveal where your lack is, but also where your attributions are, where your wins were. Your habits show you exactly who you are. You're going to critique them. They're not going to criticize them. Criticizing means you're going to put them down. Critique means you're just reporting, this is a habit that I do. I start my day out rushing or whatever. Just start reporting on yourself. And you're not being a tattletale, but you kind of are. So look at the habits and they will reveal a lot of things that you can start making actionable steps. The next part is understand who you are is not always who you want to be. Make sure that you see who you are, right? And it doesn't matter. This is not meaning that we're judging ourselves. This does not mean that you're taking anything personal. You're just really putting yourself in check and you see, okay, this is what I am. This is what I aspire to be. And write a list out. Write a list out like, hey, these are the things this is where I'm starting at, or this is where I'm at today. I want to achieve this, and this person will be able to do this. And for me, I wrote, like, even in my notes from my show today, excuse me, I even wrote at the bottom of my notes, I wrote an affirmation, and my affirmation is exactly this. It's a practice. Rehearse it in the mind, rehearse it in the body, rehearse it out there. Before you have to do anything for anyone, rehearse, 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 practice, practice, practice. Once you get it so good and you do it so well, there's no escaping it, right? So this means, and here's my affirmation of the day. It says, there is no easy button, but there is an easy key. This means to work and interpret the results that I have for many keys in my hands, but not all keys fit all doors, and every door does not need to be opened. I am worth it, and my experience are parts of my keys as I turn my doors and open and take the footsteps into my actions. I wrote that for myself. When you write these things, you know, and you look at what you practice is what you're going to get. Look at professional athletes, look at business leaders. They don't go into success based on a whim and woe. They go into it, they have the vision, like I said, they understand it, they zoom in, and whatever the work that they've got to do to practice, they do it. So there may be some hard things that you don't want to do. Get over yourself. Like David Goggins says in both of his books, Can't Hurt Me. And I think the other one is Unfinished. Excuse me if I get them wrong. My apologies. But, as you write these affirmations, you can write yourself positive messages as a practice. Like another one I wrote is, the beginning of my day has me thinking of my results of who I need to be. For myself, I see myself as confident, strong, intelligent, courageous, generous, and understanding. These tasks and goals feed the results of I am. That's an affirmation. And you can write whatever it is. You can write, like, I will not lend myself out. So the practices are very, very important, of what you do. So the next part about practice is the training. What are you doing to train yourself? Now, there will be many books that people will talk about. There will be many speakers you can go pay to speak. You can watch many YouTubes, TikToks. You can learn all these things, but until you put the practice in and the training, understand your training is to get you closer to the vision. So everything that you do from here on out, from December, 29th, is going to feed the results to getting where you want to be. And understanding who you are is a big part of. You don't have to know everything about who you are. I think that's one of the things in the industry of self-help and self-improvement is that people have so many illusions about who they need to be, instead of like just start like, hey, this is where I am, you know, not listing all your deficits and not listing all your positives, but just like, hey, I am. Just recognize who you are in place. Not You don't have to write a whole dissertation, and that doesn't matter. That will come, as you report on yourself. And like I said, when you write a report at the end of the day, and you write about what you did and you look at the results, and does this fit into a question that I put, that I'm now going to put on every day of my journal entries. My question is, what will make a difference in towards my goals of who I want and need to be, right? And so what I do is, and I'll share some, I've listed, boom, 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 the tasks of the day. These are the most important things of my day. And I'm not really getting too specific, but is like task one, make my bed, set where I sleep, you know, task two, read 30 minutes a day. Doesn't mean that you have to read all 30 minutes, but it could be 10 minutes or 5 minutes in the morning, maybe 10 minutes and break time or whatever. But if you want to break it up, break it up. But, make sure that you met that timer. And the more that you consistently do it, guess what? That's a practice. And then it becomes, after a practice and a habit, it becomes a belief. And then once you believe it, it is something a part of what's actually programmable autopilot. And now I'm going to get to the autopilot just a minute. Into my task three, speak into my podcast. Task four, take a shower and take care of myself. Five, begin my work. And six, end my day. And seven, see my family. Right. And then I broke down, my tasks, personal, check in on my mom, check in on me, check me, deposit my checks. I got some checks today, write in my journal morning and evening. Those are my personal things that I'm going to accomplish today. And then there's the work. It's like print out some work, upload some things, fix, my time card, and so where I've pointed out some of my time that needs to be adjusted, and learn to adjust according to where it best produces the results. So these things are all important. So how did I get here? How did I get this process? Over the years, I've collected a lot of different books, and I still read, and there's a lot of books that I have not finished. They've been on the shelf. They needed to stand where they were because I needed to practice the thoughts. So practicing who I need to be, who I want to be, they need to coincide. They need to be integrated. They need to be locked in. And once they're locked in, and that's who I am, and I know that the results of all that work, all that belief interprets where I'm going to be, right? Because when we look at like where we want to be and versus where we are, it's like, are you constantly diverted, distracted, overwhelmed? Does your health suck? So I'm going to share with you some of the books that I've read in 2023 and reviewed, and matter of fact, I did a man-to-man interview not too long ago. If you want to check out my channel on YouTube, and it was with Dominic Damaski, and we talked about, the greatest salesman in the world. Why is this book important? Without giving away too much, this book really gets the vision of you and the disillusions very clear. You're going to be able to see like some of the scrolls that it talks about, look for, sorry about that. And a phone call. Anyways, one of the things that me and Dominic talked about, it's like in the book, it says, look for opportunities where others would not. Uncover what you find. And maybe the results you're looking for is not necessarily the results you wanted, but the results you needed. So there's a lot of principles and things. And I learned about this book through Matthew McConaughey like 25 years ago, right? 25 years ago. He was talking about, I think it was like Jay Leno. And he had just did an interview with Jay Leno talking about how he got dazed and confused. And one of the books he read was Og Mandino. I've had this book for probably, I'd say 15 years. And I read it once. A lot of it was confusing. I had reread it again, and then some of the principles began to unravel. It's like, okay, now I understand what I can do, right? And this is, and I'm going to break down some of these books as I recommend them to you on YouTube, that smallest to largest, because let's face it, if you don't have a strong practice for reading, no matter what book you have, it will not be finished unless you start out, like James Clear would say, in a micro way. Start the habit, begin the practice, then the practice becomes the belief, right? And understand that agreement. So practice becoming a reader, a reporter, a writer for yourself, right? And you can, I don't care how you put it down, you just do. So the next book that I would have to really highly encourage, and this is really going to get towards, this is a fictional book, just like The Greatest Salesman in the World was fiction, but it's self-improvement, it's self-harnessing, it's so much. But the next book that really transformed my mindset, and I've read this so many times, and I continue to read it, and I continue to listen to it, and that's The Alchemist. The Alchemist by Pablo Coelho. What is this? Why is this book? This is like the upgrade, right? So this is a start. This is a simple book, The Greatest Salesman in the World. It's only, if I were to look at it, I think it's like 109 pages. The Alchemist, a little longer, a little thicker, improve your reading skills, right? And your writing skills. This book is more like, I'd say 175 pages long. And I think that's how long it is. But in this book, he talks about the illusions, right? Know the vision of, if you don't know the vision of who you are and who you want to be, in this book, it takes you on a journey of from an adolescence, and you would think that it's in the past, but it could be in modern times, and talks about where you lend your allegiances to, where you lend your mindset to, where you lend a lot of your purposes, maybe not for yourself, but for other people. And that's the first, report and understanding where you lend and how you get yourself in the circumstance you do. So this book is a wonderful tale. It has so many messages. I highly recommend it for 2024. If you haven't picked up a copy, Pablo Coelho, this version is still on sale with Barnes & Noble, and any Barnes & Noble, Amazon, wherever you want to buy books. Both these books are. If you want something, and we're going to continue with the fiction. One book I have not finished, and the reason why I have not finished this, but I find it so very valuable. I bought George S. Classen's The Complete Original Edition of The Richest Man in Babylon. Now, key in, this is written in an English style that is not American Standard English. You're going to have to do a little bit of interpreting. You're going to have to take a little bit of more time. And that's what it took me, because it speaks in Old English vernacular. That means a style of writing. So bear in mind, there are a lot of gems. You will have to translate, give yourself some thought. So where am I at in the book? Right now, I'm on what would seem chapter 14. And as you notice, I've written notes, I've highlighted, I put things, like I said, I translated, and throughout the book, I've done exactly that. I've underlined, highlighted, did things that made a difference. What is this book really about? If you were to think about fortune and who you need to be and the results that you want to live with, this book talks about how and what to put your money into, the philosophy, the belief. Maybe these common practices that you do are not really panning out because you are constantly just giving away what you don't need to. Do you retain as much as you make? So The Richest Man in Babylon really points out a lot of things financially, right? This is a financial training, the beginnings. If many of you talk about financial literacy, then I would highly encourage you to think about what you actually know. And if you don't know, this philosophy within The Richest Man in Babylon will kind of set things straight, so you understand the mind of an investor and the one that curates wealth. Right? There's other very well-informed books that tell you how to invest, but I think that in order to get to that, you need to get to the results of a philosophy that's a daily practice, so a daily belief where you invest your time. Like, I'll give you a little hint. Klassen talks about, The Richest Man in Babylon. He says that don't invest where you don't understand, right? He's like, don't give like coins. Like, for example, are you going to give a chunk of your wealth to a bricklayer to go invest in the stock market? No, you're going to find and you're going to evaluate those who make better decisions. So, and then he'll say like, have your gold grow children. Your children's children of gold will be your wealth and a result. So George S. Clason, Richest Man in Babylon, highly recommend this book, for 2024. You can, and any of these books you can start right now, but I'm just saying, as you begin the practice of reading, as you be in the practice of who you are, you're going to make these things a part of who you are and your daily practices. And as you learn things and you lament, you meditate, you think about all these great things, this is going to matter. It's really going to matter. So then we're going to move into, this is a lot more in depth. Okay. This is really, for many people, might be hard to understand because the way that James Clear, and that's right, I'm going to talk about Atomic Habits, right? Atomic Habits is very important because Atomic Habits reveals your habits in the micro and macro. You may be on too much autopilot, and then when life is so overwhelming, you want it to be more clear. James Clear will help you if you take the time to read his book slowly, write some notes on this, and reveal exactly where you're putting your attention and your results are. Because if you're feeding too many others and not yourself, you're going to be unhappy. So he goes over exactly the little things make the biggest difference in life. So he's going to talk about that. Next up, if you want for you brand new Stoics out there. And that's where my Stoic circus really came from. It was understanding the works of Marcus Aurelius, Zeno, Seneca, Epictetus, and many more. But if you want a great book to start out with, just reading little bits of doses, you don't have to read a whole lot. You don't have to read the whole thing. Is start out with Marcus Aurelius's Meditations. Now, there's many different versions. I have two versions. I have George Hayes. There's this one, and there's a couple others in the bookstores. And if you notice, I have book tabs all over my book. I have highlighted things. Like, I'll give you an example. In book 7, in number 7, don't be ashamed to need help. Like a soldier storming in a wall, you may have a mission to accomplish. And if you've been wounded and you need a comrade to pull you up, so what? But what does he mean by that? It's okay to ask for help for the qualified individual, which touches on The Richest Man in Babylon. So there's a lot of things out of this particular book that will help you. And this is a lifelong practice. Stoicism is not going to be learned in 1 year, not 6 months, not 1 month after you just read it one time. No, this is a life practice. And even still, I read this. My favorite writer in the world, Ryan Holiday, does it. He reads constantly, practice for the interpretation to come out of your life. Then there is, there is a series of books. These 3 books that I bought probably 10 years ago, Don Miguel Ruiz, The Four Agreements, the Toltec Wisdom Collection. Now, what is this? Okay. So he's got 3 smaller books, right? So after you got through the heavy reading, or maybe you don't want to take on the heavy reading as fast, but you want something in depth, he's got 3 distinctive books that I would suggest reading. Now, the first one, very simple. These books are not very thick. You can listen to lectures, you can listen to audio. It's based on 4 principles. What are they? Now, the 4 agreements are: be impeccable with your words. That means you speak when it's necessary. You understand what you're saying, whom you're saying it to, including yourself. He says, speak with integrity. Say only what you mean. Avoid using the words to speak against yourself or to gossip about others. Use the power of your word in a direction for truth and love. This is just a hint, and this is just a synopsis of this book. Don't take anything personal. I think that is so very important in today's world, because much of today, people are reactive to what others are doing and not what they're doing. So he says, nothing others do is because of you. What others say or do and project on their own reality is their own dream. When you are immune to opinions and actions of others, you won't be a victim of needless suffering. That's very important. And I'm going to go over the 4 agreements on another day, and we're going to talk about it in depth in 2024. Don't make assumptions. He'll say, find the courage to ask for questions. A lot of people don't ask the questions for their needs. They just assume, and then they put themselves in a bad predicament. Always. And the last principle is always do your best. No matter how hard it is, no matter what it is, giving your best exactly is going to matter to you and then to others. No one's going to give you a pat on the back. But when you only focus on, hey, I got the results out of what I focused on. I didn't leave a mess when I left my desk. My desk is not cluttered with a bunch of junk or papers. I'm now able to come. So the 4 agreements is a great internal interpretation of self and doing better with self. Then the next book, I think this is really a book that I truly love in this sequence of books. The Mastery of Love. When I understood The Mastery of Love by Don Miguel Ruiz, when I truly understood what the principles of love were, I then began to understood the difference between love and lust, which was a big deal. So many of us want to fill in the gaps where we feel lonely. We want to feel appreciated. We want to matter. We want to know when we say something that it means to someone. What he talks about, what relationships with yourself and others, and the interpretation of who you have with you, including your standards, need to be sorted out. And this, the mastery of love, definitely touches on a lot of things that can help your current relationship, or maybe the past relationships you've had before you enter into a new one. You might be dating, you might be met someone. Maybe this might help you in the understanding of who you're with and who you're going to spend time with for now, or a time period, or eternity, in or for your lifetime. The next one, I have not read The Voice of Knowledge. I can't really report on The Voice of Knowledge, but I think the biggest reason why I didn't read this is because I was being lazy. I'm just going to call myself out for what it is. However, after I finish Be Useful, but 7 Tools of Life by Arnold Schwarzenegger, I'm going to read The Voice of Knowledge. That is my next book. So I have a list of books that I'm going to go according to category, and not let, these literaries just go on the shelf, be a part of something that I can occasionally talk about, but I may be missing out. So that's something that, personal journey for me in my reading, my writing, my study to become a better self. Um, I bought this series of books for about $30. It might be a little bit more. So look at your book dealer, look at your local book dealer, and you might be able to get any of these particular books at a great deal, considering it's the end of the year or the start of the year. The start of the year, you might be able to get a great deal. I've seen sometimes people want to sell these used, right? Any of these books you more likely can find used. Someone wants to clear out their closet or clear out their shelf, let their books go for 10 books on Facebook Marketplace. That's where I found a lot of books, not just gone to the bookstore or the book dealer online. I just be able to do that. Okay, so moving forward. Okay, for guys, and yes, I'm speaking specifically to men. Women can also do this. I picked up this particular book, and Miyamoto Musashi, in The Art of Strategy, in his book, The Five Rings, is very heavy. A lot of people talk about the 48 Laws of Power. Well, the 48 Laws of Power would not exist without the writings of the Five Rings in Miyamoto Musashi. And I picked up this beautiful copy, which is illustrated. Um, you know, it's illustrated point by point. It has things that you can read. You know, um, it could be affirmational. It could teach you self-discipline. One of the things that, and I may be misquoting him in saying, but he says it's easier to take a warrior and put him in a garden than it is to take a gardener into a war. What does that mean? It means the skill set at the end of the day. You train the discipline of who you fight for, who you stand for, and you build beautiful things, as opposed to what? If you only worked on beautiful things, where's the discipline when the difficulty of the world hits you? So, The Five Rings, this book, I would hands down say this is one of my highly most recommended daily reads. Look at it. You don't have to start where the first chapter. You can start anywhere in this book. And I bought this at Barnes and Noble for about $20, and I've seen it listed in used book dealers for $10, but there's many different versions of this. The version I have is translated by David K. Groff, highly well-respected writer and philosopher and author. And also he is a very educated man. So David K. Groff. He's one of those. So those are my books that I recommend that are really, oh, you know what? And I'm going to give you a bonus. 2 bonuses. Epictetus's discourse will really touch on some emotional things and professional things all at once. He talks about reason why you do things and what to contemplate before you make your next move. So Epictetus's Discourse by Penguin Classics. It's a select version of his writings, a great introduction to Epictetus. definitely a must read. So these are books and this talk. If you really want to get better results, if you want something to train by, you want things to really work for you, then this is where you can start. Anyhow, I want to thank all the people that have given me support over 2023 and have watched my Stoic Circus. They've also watched Rise and Grind on my YouTube channel. 2024, I'm going to be focusing on man-to-man voices and stories, interviews with men and their stories of success and failure. So be on the watch for that. Also, I'll be releasing my podcasts, including this recording, through Captivate. So it'll be on Apple Podcasts. So I'll have that out there for you. So if you really want to give me a good follow, go into my pod page. I'm going to pull that up in just a second here. Let me pull up a new screen. Okay. And just to give you my pod page, which has all my social media, that is podpage.com/72 the architect, all one word. And you will be able to find me. And matter of fact, I'll even share my screen of what it looks like. So give me just a second. And this is going to be updated. No doubt about that. So let me get to the screen I can actually share. Let's see, my dashboard pod page. Here we go. Share. And let me queue up there we go. So as we notice on my pod page, um, this has links to my podcast, which I really haven't done much for. I kind of like sloughed off, but it shows that I'm on Amazon, Apple Podcasts, Prime, Spotify, Stitcher, and more. And what are you going to find when you see this page, right? So I'm going to switch in and go into the next screen. And let's see, my Stoic Circus, which this page is going to change. So let's see. Bingo. All right. So here is my pod page. This is where you can navigate a lot of my stuff, the episodes, the videos about me. I'm going to be posting my blogs. I'm going to be writing blogs and newsbreak style articles all in this page. So you can check out my Facebook, my YouTube, my Twitter, my Instagram, even TikTok. You can give me a follow. That would be great. So anyhow, that's all pretty much I have for today's show. I just want to say thank you to all those who view me, who view my channel. Give this a follow, share it with your friends. Think about exactly before you make any kind of resolutions. Just take the weekend, take a day and evaluate what exactly you can do your best work. Anyhow, that's all the time that I have. I hope you all have a great end of your year and hopefully a beautiful beginning, and continue to be the best version who you can be. Thanks for watching on my Stoic Circus. I'm 72 Architect and I'm out.